Hey guys. So, in concluding our discussion of contacting dead people, I want to bring in a bonus flavor of dead person. If you remember, we've talked in the past previous videos about three flavors of dead people: revenants, the fractalized remains of a soul living out a single moment in time; an intact soul, someone who's able to slough off all of the things that were inauthentically them and start living a successful afterlife; and shades, which are those attachments that have been sloughed off, creating a hollow facade of a person you thought you once knew. Uh, Quick intro: I'm Kadrick Olson, author of Runes for Transformation, founder of Galdracraft. You may know me from many years of teaching runes and Norse mysticism, but another aspect of my life is I grew up dealing with spirits, disembodied entities, haunted houses, seances, that sort of thing. And so I'm sharing with you a lifetime of experience of working with spiritual entities of many different kinds. So now, this bonus flavor of dead people doesn't really apply to the previously mentioned dead people, but yet there's still somewhat of an overlap of all three, because this bonus flavor is the recently deceased. Now, extra caution needs to be emphasized here about contacting the recently departed. This is an especially vulnerable time for them and for their loved ones. You see, we as loved ones, we can be filled with angst and distraught over the loss of this person. And this really is not the type of energy you want to bring into a ritual setting ever, period. And secondly, not the type of energy you want to be giving to someone who is making the transition into the afterlife. You see, they're going through a very massive transformation. Everything that they once knew about reality, how our world works, our means of communication, transportation, perception, all of that is going through a radical change for these people. You just think about like a newborn child. This baby has to learn how to move, how to walk, how to talk. Even the act of learning to eat can be a challenge. I know there's some instinct in there, but the rest of learning how to eat is a challenge. Now, the same thing is absolutely true for the recently deceased. Only now, they're trying to cling to anything they can that is familiar to them. This will confuse them. They tend to confuse familiarity with safety. They tend to confuse sacred energy with secure grounds, but it actually kind of leads to some stagnation. So let me try to state that again. The recently departed are confused about their new life, and they're going to attempt to hold on to anything familiar, thinking that familiarity is safety, and it's actually not. You see, when you reach out to this person and try to see if they're okay, you're trying to understand what they're going through, what they left you in their will, or where they hid the vast troves of money, which wall you need to break down to get the treasure chest, right? You're actually enabling them to cling to their former life. You're inhibiting their ability to transition into their new afterlife. I know you want to pass on well wishes, good energy to these people. I know you also desperately want word that they still exist and that they're doing well. But I'm going to urge you to resist that urge for a two-way communication. Rather, it's better to go into a seance or a ritual and ask for the assistance of an intermediary, someone who knows you, someone who knows your loved one, and is readily familiar with these spiritual realms. When you make contact with this being, ask them if they can help guide your well wishes, your energy, and your love to this person to aid them in their transition and growth process. You can even ask this intermediary for guidance in ways that you can help your loved one with a transition in other ways. You see, there's sometimes some things in the physical world that need to be resolved, maybe final messages that need to be passed on, or things that they need to learn to let go and move on from. And if you get this message from the intermediary, then commit yourself to following through on this action. It will help that person let go and move on. But in every case, resist the temptation to engage in two-way communication with the recently deceased. I can't emphasize that more. Resist the temptation to engage in two-way communication with a recently deceased. Sometimes An intact soul knows what they're doing. Sometimes they move on and they're able to communicate with you. For example, I had a dream when my dad died. I was 19 years old. I was having some crazy, wonky dream of being with a group of vampires running through a cave, and all of a sudden I heard a phone ring. I'm like, what? And instantly, I was in the living room of my house. I answered the phone. My dad's on the phone saying, "Hey, how you doing? I'm here." And then, poof, he was sitting in the chair in front of me, his place at the kitchen table. And I'm like, "Dad, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know things are okay. I've moved on. I'm still here. Tell everyone I love them. Everything is great." That was an amazing experience. I hung up the phone, he disappeared, and I went right back to that cave running with the vampires. And I woke up some time later going, wow, that was cool. Sometimes that happens, and it's a beautiful thing when it happens. And like I discussed in previous videos, a lot of times people are not doing their spiritual work to remain intact. They don't know what they're doing. And I know you want that communication. I know you want that reassurance that they're doing okay. And you can get that by contacting some sort of an intermediary, a guide, someone that can understand what's going on and help both of you. So, again, work only with this intermediary, someone that can facilitate the connection and the communication in a way that best serves you both. And in truth, no matter what kind of work you're doing with the spiritual realms and all of your dealings with the otherworldly entities, it's really always a good idea to have a guide to help facilitate the communication and give you a better understanding of what's going on. Now, throughout all of these discussions, we've explored 3 different flavors of dead people. We have revenants, which are the fractalized remains of a soul trapped in a moment of time. We have intact souls, people who did their spiritual work in life and are pursuing growth in the afterlife. And shades, the artificial facade of a person that has absolutely no bearing on the authentic nature of that individual. Plus, we looked at the challenges faced by the recently deceased. And if you like what you've learned throughout all of these videos, please click like and subscribe. And please, you'll be helping out so many other people if you share these videos with those that you know who's going to benefit from this information. And if you're looking for more information, you want to stay in the loop on the future releases because there's lots more to come, just follow the link in the description and I'll have more for you there. Thank you, and hail.